On that thought, let's start the show real quick. Hey, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Lauren.
And we are Glib Shark. Jack Edithel is on assignment in Kuala Lumpur.
As he always is.
As he always says. But no, he's just sick. He's not actually out of the United States, off the continent. He is just not feeling well, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we have the lovely, the talented, the amazing Obo Crazy here to do a little something that we call This Week in Geek. How are you, Obo?
I'm doing good. Today's This Week in Geek is all about space. Do you like that? I try to give something to our binaural audience there. all none of them.
All a few of them.
All a few of them, yes. By getting further away from the microphone, like I'm in space, because that's apparently how that works. First, let's talk budgets. The White House has released its budget plan for NASA for the 2017 fiscal year, requesting $19 billion from Congress to fund the space agency. That's more than the $18.5 billion requested for NASA last year, but it's also $300 million less than the agency actually received in the 2016 omnibus bill. The preliminary figures are detailed in a summary of the NASA budget request, which is out today. A large portion of the funds, specifically $8.4 billion, will go towards NASA's human exploration programs, comparable to what NASA wanted last year. These include maintaining the International Space Station, as well as furthering development of NASA's commercial partnership programs. Now, these are the initiatives that track private companies with tasks like SpaceX, Boeing, and more, with creating spacecraft to ferry cargo and astronauts to and from the ISS. The funds will also be used to continue developing NASA's next big rocket, the Space Launch System, and the Orion crew capsules. However, both of these projects are getting some substantial cuts. The SLS program has only been allotted $1.3 billion, which is far less than the $2 billion Congress gave the program in 2016. The Orion will also get $150 million less. These two vehicles are critical parts of NASA's plan to send astronauts onto Mars someday. However, the budget summary hints that NASA may be turning its focus more towards the moon in addition to the red planet. A fact sheet accompanying the budget summary notes that some of the human exploration budget will go towards, quote, early stage public-private partnerships leading to the development of habitation capabilities near the moon, end quote. Yes, that's what it sounds like. We're going to the moon and we're going to live on the moon. Now, up until now, NASA's only lunar plans involve sending astronauts near the vicinity of the moon to study an asteroid. Now it's possible NASA may be incorporating the moon or the space around it more in their future plans. Meanwhile, NASA's science division will get a big chunk of the budget as well, $5.6 billion. About $1.5 billion will go towards the study of planetary sciences, furthering development of the new Mars rover slated to go to the red planet in 2020. It will also be used to formulate a plan for a mission to Jupiter's icy moon Europa. And this is the point where I now have to quote 2010. All of these are yours except Europa. Attempt no landing there. Apparently, we're going to attempt a landing there anyway. However, the Europa project suffered some big cuts too. The new budget proposal only allots $49 million. The initiative received $175 million from Congress last year. Additionally, and finally, a whopping $2.032 billion is being allotted for Earth sciences, an area that encompasses NASA's various Earth-observing satellites. The budget nearly triples funding for CubeSats, which are small research satellites that can be used to conduct different types of space research. Now, if you want to read the entire 710-page budget proposal, you can go online and do that. Or you can do what I did, and you could just read a couple of articles that are out there about it, because budgets are not as exciting as space. But budgets are what makes space happen, like other things. Moving on to researchers discovering hundreds of galaxies hiding behind the Milky Way. That's right, astronomers just uncovered hundreds of hidden galaxies, a mere 250 million light years away from Earth, which is well within our galactic neighborhood. How did they stay unknown for so long? Well, the Milky Way kind of caused a problem. The International Center for Radio Astronomy Research just completed a survey published today in the Astronomical Journal detailing the hundreds of newly discovered galaxies, as well as giving a much better idea of where some older suspected galaxies were hiding. Altogether, they mapped 883 galaxies lurking behind the Milky Way. Now, if you go online and do a search for this article, you can actually see an artist representation, which makes it a little easier to understand some of the science I'm about to drop. Scientists had some ideas that there was something out there, but they didn't know what or really where. Some of the brightest clusters of galaxies were already visible. An even better clue, though, was the strange gravitational force pulling the Milky Way towards it. So astronomers have been aware of this pull, dubbed the, quote, Great Attractor, since the 1970s. Now they finally have been able to see it. The map that NASA put together of the Milky Way last year shows that our own galaxy blinds us to what is all of these other galaxies. The Milky Way is dust and stars, light, gas, space, all swirled together in a big spiral. It's beautiful, but a limiting place. Essentially, we can look outwards, but we can't see past ourselves. It's like when you're fat and you look down when you're standing and you can't see your toes because of your own gut. Not that I would know anything about that.
I do.
And the light I have breasts. The light those galaxies are sending out towards us gets lost in the brightness of our own galaxy. To get around that, researchers use a radio telescope along with new receivers developed especially for this purpose to survey the zone of avoidance. And they found 883 galaxies because, apparently our Milky Way is large and likes to hide a lot of things. Definitely go check out some of the images and some of the maps. It's very, very cool. Finally, for more of the you need to go on and check this and fun things that NASA is doing, NASA's new space tourism posters are out. That's right. Space tourism posters. And they're awesome in kind of a retro way. So Seattle design firm Invisible Creature, which has done work with Nike, Seattle Weekly, Target, and many, many more widely known companies, released 3 new space-themed travel posters commissioned by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory for a 2016 calendar that will be given to NASA staff, scientists, engineers, and government officials. JPL will also release digital copies of each of the month's artwork for free, but you can buy physical prints of Invisible Creature's posters on the firm's website, which is, of course, invisiblecreature.com. The idea is not terribly new. JPL has commissioned posters, infographics, and other artwork in the past, and you can dig through a pretty extensive archive in the lab's website, which is a little more difficult, but it's jpl.nasa.gov/infographics, or you can Google search it. But there is something striking about Invisible Creatures posters and the detail they involve. They are very evocative of pulp science fiction posters and pulp novel covers. They're very colorful. It's apparently been a big dream come true for the people who started Invisible Creature. And I love that they're actually going to be releasing these images for free to the public. And you don't actually have to go to JPL and get a calendar to see them. Definitely go check them out. If you're in the stream right now, we've been cycling through the 3 that have already been released. They're just really gorgeous posters and kind of are a lot of fun. And they all are, hey, now boarding. Let's go and claim the galaxy and let's go land on Mars and let's go all of these fun places and visit them and see geysers and things. Book your tour now. That's all for This Week in Geek. I'm Ovo Crazy, and if I could actually go to one of these places, I'd be there in a moment.
The world is indeed a strange intergalactic place. And if you have a fact you'd like Obo Crazy to read live and on the air, you can hit her up via Twitter at Obo Crazy. Hit up our Twitter at Glib Shark. And if it is awesome, if it is spacey, if it is touristy, we'll see if we can get it read.
And if it comes with gorgeous pictures like these.
And if it comes with gorgeous pictures like those.
It's one of the few times in where the podcast medium fails us because I can't just show the people listening these posters. But I think it's well worth it for you guys to go to the JPL website because there is just a ton of awesome stuff there anyway. I'm promoting going to a website on an audio podcast to look at visual medium. It all ties together.
It really does. And I actually, my physics 2 and calculus teacher back in high school briefly worked at, I don't know if it was briefly, but she worked at the JPL. So she had all these cool stories to tell us. It was neat. Yeah.
That is very cool. All right. I have a question for you. That has nothing to do with space.
All right.
When are you going to see Deadpool?
I am seeing it on Thursday.
Nice. Luke and I are actually going to go see it on Thursday as well.
Hooray.
That was not the original plan, but my work schedule makes this weekend just insanely crazy. And there is a 10 o'clock showing at our favorite theater, the Cinnabar at Mountain Lake Terrace. And 10 o'clock is late enough on Thursday that we will be well done with D&D by then. So our plan is to go play D&D and then trundle all the way up to Mount Lake Terrace and go see Deadpool. And so I'm excited to not be spoiled any more than I already have been for this movie.
Yeah, I've been doing a pretty good job, as per usual, kind of avoiding spoilers and stuff like that. I am really looking forward to it. Like
I am too.
I don't know exactly what I expected when they announced the movie. I guess I was kind of had a cautious optimism, just because the reason why this movie is here and now is largely, I feel like, because of Ryan Reynolds' passion about the character. And yes. I think when you invest yourself that much and you are a decent comedic actor, I think most of the time nothing but good can come of it. And from some of the early reviews, that is exactly the case. I saw one review called it the most graphically violent Bugs Bunny cartoon you'll ever see.
Now, I was cautious about it until that short came out.
Right.
A while back. That apparently now is in the movie. Apparently, I don't know. But when that short came out, I watched that and I went, I could watch a 2-hour movie that was this. I could absolutely, and I would be overjoyed. And while for the first time in a while, I feel like I have seen too much now of this movie because of the trailers that have been put out. And it's not even really like the promotional stuff. Like, I feel like the stuff that Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool's been doing promotion-wise, that's been not showing clips of the movie, has been outstanding and super funny and giving everybody really good idea of what Deadpool is as a character. But I feel like the trailers and the that have come out really have given me probably the first 30 minutes of this movie. And that's a little disappointing. However, those first 30 minutes look fantastic.
Yeah, I think I've done, as much marketing has been thrown our way, I've done a pretty good job of avoiding stuff. Like, I saw the test footage, and if I totally agree that test footage had the exact right tone and the right performance. Everything about it was what you would want to see in a movie Deadpool. And I did see the first trailer, and it had some elements from that test footage, but not everything. And after that, I really haven't seen anything else. And pretty much what every time I hear X going to give it to you, I immediately hide. I run out of the room, and it has served me very well.
Yeah, I've always respected your ability to be able to do that. And I don't feel like I have really been spoiled on any movies that up until Deadpool. I am afraid this is the one that I've been spoiled on. However, if it's a fun ride, which is kind of all I am trying to expect out of Deadpool, I'll be okay with it. So we'll see. Next week on Glib Shark, we can both give our opinions.
Yeah, we'll do a spoiler cast. Well, actually, so next week, what we'll probably do is a short spoiler cast after the show, because before the show, we're going to be recording some Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks, because, as I mentioned before, one of our beloved castmates is a little sick right now.
Yeah, and by before, you really mean right before, but We've been really good about keeping our play sessions from not getting too long, for a bunch of different reasons, and so I'm confident that we'll have plenty of time. But yeah, literally, we'll be coming off the high of whatever happens. Hopefully, I won't kill you all next week because that'll be a bummer.
Yeah, that would be a premature end to Jonathan the Magimuscular and his band because he's the leader. Since no one else is here to dispute that, I'm just saying he's the leader.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you guys in here one at a time and ask, so who's the leader of this little group of adventurers you got? And every single one would be like, well, me, of course, me.
Well, I'm the leader, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I'm in charge. Soria believes she's in charge.
Soria's not even a member of the party.
That's what you say.
Oh God.
She might think otherwise. Yep. So I'm excited about Deadpool. I'm excited about D&D. I'm excited about D&D. I'm also kind of excited about catching up on X-Files. I haven't seen this week's episode yet, but I finally saw last week's episode. Have you caught up yet? I
haven't caught up at all. Like as I listen, I finally released the episode that we recorded before PAX, and I was a little ranty, and I think a lot of that rantiness was because of sake. And to all of our listeners who may have been offended by said rant, I am sorry.
Nah, it was fine.
I know. But I haven't caught up at all. I have managed to catch up with Supergirl. Agent Carter and other stuff is going on tonight, so I'll catch up with that tomorrow. It was just that week was just a bad week for TV because I was out of town. I was at PAX. I never got to talk about PAX.
Oh, that's true. So how was your PAX?
My PAX was really good. I managed to run into a bunch of friends. I saw Laser Team that Thursday night, and I took my sister, and we met up with Lo Zelta, Eno Shin, which is someone who I've played Destiny with, and our good friend John Crazy Boy Sharp. So we all saw Laser Team, and
was that the first time you had seen it?
Yes, that was the first time I'd seen it.
Okay, good, because I'm now realizing we haven't talked about Laser Team at all. So finish your story.
So we go to the Santikos Palladium in San Antonio, Texas, right after I'd gone to dinner with my family. And that reminds me, I owe my brother for some Super Bowl squares. And so I need to PayPal him that ASAP. But anyway, so we saw the movie. Afterward, Blaine was there, so he was doing a Q&A. And then John Reisinger was there too, and he started doing a Q&A. Honestly, I left after the Q&A, or I left during the Q&A, because it was, sorry, but it was a Q&A with Rooster Teeth fans. And I think most of us who have been on the PAX circuit, generally we know what that means. So I was just like, I can't stay. I was like, every minute I am at the theater, I am not downtown getting drunk.
And every minute you're having one of those, I've been on the website for 10 years and get off my lawn, you youngins who don't know how to ask a question.
13 years. 13 years.
13 years. Yes. So, well, that's okay. But so how did you enjoy the movie?
I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was definitely benefited from seeing. I definitely benefited from seeing it with a crowd of Rooster Teeth fans.
Yes.
It was. It's what you would expect from a studio making their very first movie. There were some pacing missteps. It seemed like a bunch of the questions and conversations that the characters were asking or having were repeated several times. And I'm just like, okay, come on, let's move on. I don't want to. It's hard to say. It's tough to criticize when you know the people that are behind it are very talented. Josh Flanagan is obviously a really good writer. Matt Hullum is a good director. I would say actually some of the strengths were of some of the performances. Colton Dunn, Alan Richardson, he did really good. I was surprised by that. Bernie did very, very well. Gavin, I think Gavin's problem was that his character was one of the weaker ones. And he basically, as soon as he put on his helmet, he became an exposition machine. Yeah. And that's not interesting.
No, but I'll respect him for, especially a lot of the Rooster Teeth staff that ended up in the show, but especially Gavin and Bernie for not being actors, you know, they've learned through just doing how to act. This is kind of the culmination of them for all of their work in Rooster Teeth as actors, and I think it worked really well. The fact that there was no time in where it was painful to watch. Like, hey, you know, they're standing and acting across from, you know, quote unquote classically trained actors or Hollywood actors or people who are doing acting for a living, and they are doing absolutely fine. There's no telling that, oh, these guys, you know, aren't really actors. No, they're really actors. They're really up there doing it. So I was super impressed.
I will say that although like Michael and Gavin didn't have the strongest performance, they were still better than the actual actor. Like, I would say probably the weakest performance turned in on the movie was from Ally DeBerry. Like, she just was really, for me, she was just really flat, just not interesting. Her best line, and it just so happened to be one of the best parts of the whole movie, was when I forget his character's name, but Michael was like, oh, it was Zach. That was right. It was Zach. It's like, so yeah, I'm going to call your daughter. And when she answers, however long she says, hey, is how long she wants to like see my dick in a hot dog bun. And so it's like, hey, Mindy. And she's like, hey.
Yeah.
And as she's doing that, Hagen is just like, oh my God, I can't. Mm-hmm. That was probably like, after the movie, that's the moment that stayed with all of us. So we were like, while we were walking around PAX, we were greeting each other with very long hays. It was a lot of fun.
So I'll say it took me a little bit to get into the right frame of mind for this movie, because like I went in knowing it was a sci-fi comedy, and same thing. I saw it at one of the Seattle premieres, surrounded by Rooster Teeth people. We had a great time. And there was a moment, you know, after the first 10 or 15 minutes, and we're settled on into the story and everything. And I started having some of the pacing issue questions came up, and some of the plot hole stuff came up. And then somewhere in the back of my mind, I realized I'm not really watching a sci-fi comedy. I'm watching a sci-fi cartoon. Yeah. I'm watching an adult cartoon that just happens to be live action. And once I made that switch, everything was okay, because you could nitpick the story. There's plot holes, but it's a comedy. It's a cartoon. It's a what if, and it's a fun one. And if you go into it with that mindset and just enjoy the jokes, because individually all the jokes are consistently really funny. And the stuff that people say and the situations that everybody gets into, once it's a cartoon, once it's a sketch comedy show, it's absolutely great. But I had some of those same pacing problems. It was a ton of fun looking for little tiny Easter eggs. I backed it enough on the Indiegogo to be able to get a Blu-ray. It arrived the day that we were seeing the showing, and I'm glad that Luke and I decided not to watch it, to have that fresh experience in the theater. And then the next day, Luke was watching it on his screen while he was doing some drawing, and I pretty much made him stop and go frame by frame through some of the scenes looking for stuff. And we found a lot of stuff. Can I spoil one not plot related thing? Can I spoil a guest star? Sure. Okay, so spoilers, you haven't seen it, but best moment for me, Neil deGrasse fucking Tyson.
That was amazing. That was
great. My God. That was the best cameo. Like, we were all excited to see Ed Robertson, but like, he's a known Rooster Teeth quantity at this point. Like, him and the Bare Naked Ladies have a very close relationship. It's awesome to see him in a major motion picture. But then when they cut to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it wasn't stock footage, it was filmed, and he was in the movie, I just lost my shit. I was so happy.
That was really, really great.
I don't know how they got him. I don't know, like I can speculate and I have some ideas. I don't know how they managed to get a hold of him. I don't know, like I totally get that he would have said yes, because everything I've heard about this man is that he is completely up for shit like this. But yeah, I can't wait for that story to come out about how they got Neil deGrasse Tyson to cameo, because that was amazing.
That was really surprising, and I loved it. Like, friend of the show Izzy had seen it the night before, and she mentioned that a cameo. She didn't say who it was, but she's like, "There's a cameo that was really, really awesome." And as soon as I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson pop up, I'm like, "That's who she's talking about." And
yep.
Yeah.
So the other interesting thing that I noticed, so obviously all of the audience stayed through all of the credits, not just because we knew there was going to be stuff after the credits, but because the vast majority of us knew people in the credits. And I'm not just talking about like the Indiegogo backers who donated enough to be on the screen. So I always stick around for credits for a couple different reasons, but one of them is I always want to see who did the music. Now, in this case, I know who did the music. I'm very familiar, and I knew it was the video game orchestra, and I knew it was Jeff Williams, and I knew all of that stuff, but I wanted to like see some of the specifics. I was super excited they started listing off the musicians, because that is a rarity. And the fact that they did that, whether it was part of contract, whether it was something they agreed to do, I don't know what, but I was super grateful. And that was the one thing I made it a point to tweet afterwards.
Yeah.
To say, but interesting side note to that. So several months ago, Halo 5 came out, and this will make sense in a second. And we played through Halo 5, and I'm watching the credits, and here comes the composer, and here comes all of the orchestra that they use, and they're listing off the musicians for Halo 5. I'm like, this is awesome. I love that they're doing this. And they list off 20 million strings and a bunch of different brass, including chimbosas and all kinds of awesome brass players, and a couple percussionists, and no woodwind players. Zero. None. And I'm like, all right, well, it's a big bombastic action adventure sci-fi score. There's not really a lot of more tender moments. I guess if they just wanted strings and brass, I guess that makes sense. Kind of sucks, but whatever. And then I'm sitting watching the credits for Laser Team, and here's all the strings, and here's all the brass, and here's a couple percussion, and then some electronic music. There's no fucking woodwinds. Zero. There were no woodwinds. And part of me wanted to say, Jeff, I know you have my number. I would have lowered my rates for you. It's okay. No woodwinds. Zero. So I'm going to have to buy the official score and then be upset that there's no oboe player that I can enjoy.
Well, I would say that you next time you see Mr. Williams, that you mention it and say, hey, what the hey, dude, come on, let's do this.
Well, and you know what? If the score didn't involve woodwinds, that's okay. It's on on the one hand, totally understandable. Just like the Halo score, if you don't need them, don't spend the money. If it's going to save you money. On the other hand, if you're going to hire an orchestra, if you're going to do an orchestral soundtrack, it's a weird omission. And especially since there was a love theme. There was love music or lust, sex. There was sex music. There wasn't even a saxophone.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. Was it Airwolf that included the sexy oboe time? So Luke has been watching Airwolf on Netflix.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, for those of you who don't remember what Airwolf is, that's because you're probably less than 40. There you go. Exactly. Airwolf was a TV show that aired in the mid-'80s. It was 4 seasons, and it was the quintessential 80s action TV show. It was about this guy who had this high-tech military helicopter called Airwolf, and he would get hired by the secret organization to go do secret spy stuff with a helicopter, because that's what you do. And it always ends with everybody kind of awkwardly laughing in a freeze frame. I've walked in on Luke watching several of these episodes, and I can only make it through so much before I'm just like, I can't anymore. And yeah, at one point there was sexy makeout time with Oboe. And I'm like, well, there you go. At least an oboist made money off of this show at one point. Airwolf. That was Don Belisario.
It was Don Belisario.
That was one of his. God, this is a moment that I kind of wish Jenko was here, because just mentioning Don Belisario, he would
have a lot to say about that. He really would.
Yeah. And for those who don't know that name, pick a show from the 80s, Don Belisario created it, basically. And then some of the 90s, too. Some of the 90s. And then I think Jag is still going on, right? Jag is like 30 years old or something.
Yeah, Jag is, I'm pretty sure, still a thing, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that was Laser Team. Let's go back to you and Pax.
Yes, me and Pax.
You and Pax. So we just finished watching Laser Team. You've left to go drinking.
So basically, I went back downtown, and it was. I returned to my room. I was staying with John Sharp and our good friend Rocket John, also fellow D&D castmate, and who else? Connor McRae was in our room. So we had guests in our room when I got back. We had our good friend Noobs. We had our friend B Billings. It was a little mini party in the room, and it was pretty great. We hung out. We drank a bunch, and then we got to bed not early, but kind of early for a day of PAX. And so we ended up just kind of crashing, and then we hit it really hard the next day. We did the panel trifecta that is the classic of PAX. We did the keynote with Cliffy B, which was a lot of fun. That was a really good good presentation. And after that, Q&A with Mike and Jerry. That was always good. I actually, so for the Rooster Teeth panel, I stayed for a little bit and then I left because they went pretty much right into questions. And I really, supposedly it wasn't bad. From what I heard of the people who stuck around, it was actually a decent session. So good on them. In fact, I think the first question was John Reisinger because he wasn't actually on the panel. And he did the thing where he asked how to get a job at Rooster Teeth. So that's that. I thought I had heard something about that on the podcast, that Reisinger wasn't even able to get invited to go to the PAX panel when he was like one of the few people in town. So that's funny. Good for him. It was one of those things where since they had two people from Rooster Teeth, two people from Funhouse, and two people from Screw Attack, they just couldn't overload the Rooster Teeth side, I think. And they wanted to, since Screw Attack is new, they wanted to give them like sort of an equal billing. I think is what they were going for. I
think you make a very reasonable point and a rational argument, and that makes a lot of sense. But fuck it, it's the Rooster Teeth panel.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, so the rest of PAX was just kind of milling around the exhibit hall. I did manage to meet Chelsea, who has been handling all of the Laser Team backer rewards.
Oh yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Great girl, great to hang out with. We all went out to a big dinner, and certain people, namely one Connor McRae, may have suggested tequila shots.
Well, that is always a good suggestion.
No, it wasn't. It was terrible. We even got like...
Was it bad tequila?
No, it was great tequila. What was awesome was they charged us for the bad tequila, but got us the good stuff. But I don't know. My tolerance for tequila has, in non-margarita form, has lessened a lot over the years. So it was not a pleasant experience for me. But we got well and truly hammered. We wandered around some. And I'm trying to remember if it was that night or the night after where we went sort of drunk board gaming there at the gaming area. I don't know. It all kind of blurs together at this point. But
what? Go look at the Dungeon Drunks Twitter, because I know you guys were tweeting from that for most of the weekend, and there are a lot of really good pictures of you guys playing board games and making me very envious.
I do want to call out that that in the show before PAX we mentioned how there was an Omeganaut from the community, Nick Optik.
Yeah.
Well, we did meet him, and we did go to every one of his rounds. John and I did.
And he made it pretty far.
He made it to round 4. He got eliminated in Super Avalanche 2, which is a evil-looking platform game. It looks tough as hell. And of the 8 competitors, I think only 3 of them had what you might call a good round. Nick did okay, but the 4th place guy just did a little bit better.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I remember when our good friend Paul, aka T-Bone, when he got eliminated, he had the highest score so far in the contest, but it just worked out that the heat he was in just happened to do better.
Yeah.
If he had been in any other heat, he would have advanced. But yeah, that's just part of the game. So after Nick got eliminated, we went up, we shook his hand, we met. And we just told him, hey, man, you've gotten farther than a lot of other Omeganauts. Like a majority of the Omeganauts, you have progressed farther than. But above all else, you're an Omeganaut for life. So there's no shame in how he did.
And now you can go out and get drunk and not have to worry about another event.
Yeah, exactly. It was like I said, it was a lot of fun. I got to see our good friend Jamie. Got to hang out with her a little bit, but it was nice.
You mean Jamie of Amazon fame?
How wow, like talk about like a slight career change. So if you don't know, for those of you out there, our good friend Jamie Dillon had up until very recently worked with Penny Arcade in essentially the Child's Play office. Like she was one of the project managers for Child's Play. So she was a public face. She eventually got some streaming gigs in with just the normal Penny Arcade channel. Well, after a good long time there, she decided that she wanted to take her career in a different direction. And now she is she's the community manager for Amazon Games.
Yes.
And this is right after she made that announcement, Amazon dropped the release of Lumberjack, their gaming engine.
Yes, which I know nothing about.
Lumberyard. Is it Lumberyard or Lumberjack?
It's Lumber something.
I feel like I should know this.
Why? Neither of us are game developers.
Yeah, very true.
The fact that we even know that just tells us that we're interested in the gaming industry. But yeah, they released their game engine, which I believe they released the engine for free, but in order to get the client side support, that's when you have to pay, which I thought was an interesting way of going about it, because that means people who want to use the engine can go ahead and just start making a game. And then it's later down the line when you want to use some of the back end features that then you contract with Amazon, which sounds like a reasonable way of going about it. But, as I said, I'm not a game developer. I don't know. But yes, we are very excited for Jamie. I was super curious when she said that she was leaving Penny Arcade, or not Penny Arcade, Child's Play. She was leaving Child's Play. Because I know she's really loved it there. So I'm curious to see the work that she does for Amazon.
Yeah, it'll be a really interesting. I hate using the word journey, but it has been a journey for her, and I'm really. It's really inspiring to see where she's going to go and what she could potentially do, because I think as far as just being a community facing personality, I think she is incredibly well suited for that.
Yes, and I'm glad that she's staying in the games industry in like Child's Play and Penny Arcade were periphery game industry stuff, but still entrenched in that culture and in those conventions and everything. And so I'm glad that she is still in the industry so that we can still hang out with her and she can hang out with her favorite people and Sir Ranger Danger continues to be a force to be reckoned with in the gaming community.
Exactly. And I think it was very nice to be able to see her without the pressures of actually being a part of PAX.
Yes.
This was the first time in a long time that I had seen her at a PAX where she didn't have an all access badge, which is great because she wasn't being pulled in a bunch of different directions. She seemed very, very relaxed and happy. I like, above all else, she seemed really, really happy.
Yeah. Well, and that's the most important part in the end. Jamie, we officially wish you the best and be happy.
Absolutely.
And also
the best.
tequila at some point. I'll take you out for tequila and Oliver.
No. She did not come with us to that venture.
Oh, okay.
Lucky for her. But anyway, it was, like I said, it was just a lot of fun, and it was a great trip. Ended up going to a bunch of restaurants in Austin that I'd never been to. My food adventures at PAX were not really that exotic. Like, we ate by the Riverwalk. Riverwalk is you know what you're gonna get, and then dinner with my family again, pretty standard. But in Austin, we went to a ramen place, which is not far from where the RT office is. Rocket John took us there, and it was really, really good. Where it's definitely going to be one of the places that we hit while we're in Austin for RTX.
I wonder if that's the same place that he took. That I went to him with him.
I think it might be, because I think he may have mentioned that he brought people there last year. And
yeah, last year it was me and Carly and Nathan, friends of the show. He took the four of us, and it was delicious. It was absolutely outstanding. And it was kind of half. We needed to go back to his house. I'd been staying at his house last RTX, and so we need to go back to his house to go grab stuff. And then we were able to actually get Nathan away from the convention for like an hour to go eat, because he was running around like crazy doing photography stuff. So it was a chance to like force him to sit down and eat. And it was delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious is a word.
It was definitely that place then, because it was right by his house. And
perfect.
Yeah, it was just really, really good. We went to a sushi place that wasn't far from the office that I work out of in Austin. So that was really good. We also, where else did we go? Obviously, Torchy's is a spot, and we went there, which was really, really good. There was also a place, Republic Sandwiches, that John took us to. That was amazing. It's this little hole in the wall sandwich place. Shit, I forget where it is. I think it's sort of close to his new house, but not terribly far from his old one. I don't know. But anyway, it was good food times, and definitely good company. I loved hanging out with those guys that weekend.
And did you play any games there, either electronic or board, that struck you?
So they're actually, speaking of striking, one of the vendor booths did have a punching bag, one of those punching games. So I went up and I did okay, not good enough to get a lanyard. Fucking Connor apparently had the mean right hook, because that boy got himself a lanyard. We were all surprised. We were like, well, guess no one's pissing off Connor this trip.
Nice.
He just had really, really good form. He put himself into it, and he, I think out of all of our group, he had the highest score. Our good friend Jackie went ahead and tried it as well, but apparently they had a separate girl loot table for that booth. So instead of getting like in the contention for a lanyard, because I would say it would probably be really hard for any girl to hit the score that would get you a lanyard. She got chopsticks instead, which for Jackie is probably appropriate.
Frankly, I am not a lanyard person. I would much rather have chopsticks.
Yeah, it was a cool light up.
I never like wearing lanyards.
Yeah, it was kind of nice, but anyway, it was a lot of fun. I did play a game called Takat with John, and a picture of that is in the stream right now. It's fun. It was a deductive puzzle card game. That was good.
Hmm.
I did not get to play Thornwatch. The lines for the Thornwatch like playtest got formed and went really quickly. So way quicker than we were able to deal with. I did get John a copy of a game called Codenames, and I got to teach that and play it a couple of times. And that is still one of my favorite games. So it was a joy to get those out. As far as video games, I didn't play a whole lot of video games that weekend.
Well, that can be the case with PAX, unless you're willing to stand in one of the really long lines, or unless you want to go to the indie booth area. It's really not any easy way of playing a video game at PAX anymore.
Yeah, and there were a couple one of the booths had that Screen Lurker game where you're invisible and you're supposed to look at other people's screens to figure out where other people are.
Okay.
So, I've played that before at PAX, so that was kind of neat. Yeah, I honestly did not play any other video games. I didn't bring my Xbox, and I'm very glad I didn't. The most video gaming I did while I was away was at Larry's house when I played his Destiny character for him. He had it on PS.
Destiny that much?
Well, he doesn't Destiny that much, so his character was pretty low level. But and I didn't want to play any story missions for him because I figure if he wants to go play, then he should go play the story missions themselves. But I did play some Crucible for him, so played some PvP.
Oh yeah. There's something very interesting about having the experience of being a high level multiplayer player playing on someone else's account who is not as high of a level.
Yeah, I've actually done that as well with another friend of mine who is my golf buddy and board gaming buddy. I played his account as well, and I did pretty good both times. Not too bad. Can't complain.
Yeah, I'd imagine in Crucible that'd be a little bit harder because then, your skill you may have a higher level of skill, but you're still kind of stuck with the weapons and the armor of the character that you're playing.
Well, since Crucible is level balanced, the thing that you're missing, the thing that you're missing, at least on the guns and armor, are the perks. So if your raid gloves have a reload perk for scout rifles, or your scout rifle has a bunch of different perks that could help you. Honestly, if those kinds of things are nice, but I enjoyed success without them.
I have had the experience in Halo, not in Halo 5, because rank is you have to play a lot in order to get ranked in arena. But I remember distinctly both in Halo 3 and I believe also in Halo Reach with two different friends having a chance to play as them, and their rank being quite a bit lower than me, and what my real rank is, and feeling like I was being a bully at a schoolyard. It was fun, and then I felt kind of dirty.
See, here's why I didn't, is because the way the matchmaking worked, I was getting matched up with higher level characters, like with characters whose light level was a lot higher than mine. So and with Grimoire score that's higher than mine. So clearly these are a lot more veteran players. So it was kind of the opposite for me. I didn't feel like a bully. I felt like an Avenger, kind of like sticking up for the little guy. And all of a sudden this little level 8, or in Larry's case, a level 21 with a really low light level, was coming up and beating these guys. That was a good feeling.
Hey kids, don't do that in either case. Play your own game. Play your own damn game.
Listen, if you ever have the chance to kick some ass, you do it. Because like I said, it was still fun. In fact, I got to play some Destiny last night, right after our shortened recording session. I played with Rocket John and our good friend Nico. We decided to try some Trials of Osiris, and it worked out about as well as you'd expect. Very badly. So yeah, after we did that, we just played some normal Crucible for a couple of bounties that Rocket John had and kicked some ass there, and that was a lot of fun.
I'm still just grinding my way through Dragon Age and doing my nightly Halos, or semi-nightly Halos. I did download a new mobile game that I downloaded mostly because of its name. It is Dragon Ninjas. I am now playing a game called Dragon Ninjas.
Nice.
Which is it's been fun so far. It's a turn-based RPG type thing. It's got the free-to-play elements stuck in there, so we'll see how long I play it. It's right now the pay-to-win. It's not really pay-to-win. It's got an in-game currency that you can use towards certain things that then you can pay real money to get the in-game currency. It's got that shit. So far, that hasn't been egregious. I feel like I've been able to continue to play without having to worry about that. We'll see as I continue to play. We'll see how that goes. For the moment, I'm just having fun playing Dragon Ninja because I am playing as ninjas and I'm about to unlock a dragon. So soon the title of the game will be correct.
Nice.
And then next week we'll be able to talk about Deadpool, and we'll be able to talk about more D&D. And hopefully I will have caught up, and you will have caught up on X-Files, because I'm now an episode behind. And there's only 6 episodes total, so there's only 2 more episodes left.
Yeah, so it has been picked up for a normal series, right?
It has?
I thought it did.
I was under the I hadn't heard anything about that. I was under the impression this was a 6-episode limited thing.
Maybe the fact that it's maybe it's being talked about is what it is.
Maybe. That's very possible. I would be very surprised if it did, but who knows? Yeah, I'm still seeing this is officially being called season 10, but it is only 6 episodes. And I don't see anything else. I mean, who knows? Who knows how much money they'll throw at people to make more episodes happen? I would kind of, at this point, with what I've seen, I would be happy if X-Files was a limited run thing that happened every year. Only 6 episodes, a mini series type thing. But, who knows? Money makes the world go round.
And if you are interested in throwing us some money to make us go around,
yay,
that would be amazing.
We don't have any official way of that happening, unless you want to know what our PayPals are, but I don't want to give that out on the air.
I really don't want to either. We'll figure it out eventually.
You send us a message on Twitter. You can @GlibShark or @OboCrazy or @road_block. Let us know that you want to throw us money. We'll tell you how you can do that. I have a PayPal. We can manage that. Otherwise, tell your friends. Tweet at us. Tweet to your friends about us. Let people know that we're awesome. Come see us at RTX. Go listen to Dungeon Drunks. New episode out next week. Yay! They're not dead yet. That's going to be my new tagline for Dungeon Drunks. Yay! They're not dead yet. Listen, as the DM, I know there's a lot of different philosophies out there. Irregardless of what it may seem, and irregardless of what other DMs say, my goal is not to kill the party. Because if I kill my party, I don't get to tell the story, and that sucks. My goal is to make it a challenge.
It's one of those things where where is the I don't want to say the divide, but where do you draw the line? I guess is what I'm going for, because you want to make it to where the characters obviously have something to lose, but at the same time, killing your characters, like you just said, you don't get to tell the story after that. So what do you do?
Balance. Balance is super hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one fight, if the dice go one way, you guys have a really easy battle, and if the dice go another way, you die. I feel like if I've balanced the fight correctly, the dice has to go really bad for you guys to die, or you have to make poor decisions. However, it's there. It could happen. And I feel like if by the end of a fight you guys take a deep breath and are happy to have survived, I have balanced the fight well. And, sometimes I'm better at that than others. So far, I've been okay. No one's dead yet. But, you can listen every other Monday and see for yourself.
Absolutely. And from all of us here at Glib Shark, we're really glad you could join us. Come back next week. We should have a Jack. We'll be talking Deadpool. I might even talk about how I'm finally fucking able to play Borderlands the pre-sequel with my friends, because that game has not been easy to play with friends for various issues. But we'll go over that next week. Until then, for Obo Crazy, Jenga Ship, and all of us here at Glib Shark, thanks, and we'll see you next week. Bye.